aliens laughed at Earth engineer until they saw his ship, best HFY stories. The vast expanse of space was silent. Ships of all shapes and sizes drifted through the cosmic void, some sleek and others massive, as representatives of various intergalactic civilizations held their annual summit. Today, they were waiting for a newcomer, an Earth engineer. When the transmission buzzed to life and the human appeared on the screen, there was an audible chuckle from the assembled extraterrestrials. The human, a stocky man named Gregson, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. He wore a simple shirt, his attire far from the advanced uniforms of the other alien delegates. He smiled sheepishly, feeling the weight of all those eyes on him, eyes that had seen millennia of technological progress. His race, Earth, was young in comparison, barely advanced past the Stone Age when the others had long mastered FTL travel. Earth had been a source of amusement for years. "So, Earth," said the leader of the Yelka, a species with liquid metal skin, their voice smooth like a flowing river. "What brings you here today? Your race still struggles with warp drives, don't they?" Gregson nodded, taking a deep breath. "That's true. Our tech isn't exactly impressive by galactic standards, but I've been working on something I think might surprise you all." The room went quiet as the other delegates looked at each other, bemused. The Yelka leader leaned back, crossing their shimmering arms. "We're curious, Earthling. Show us." With a flick of a button on his console, Gregson sent a transmission. The screen shifted to an exterior shot of a massive, gleaming ship that was slowly drifting toward the space station. At first, there was no reaction. The ship looked old, oddly shaped. The design was nothing like the sleek and cutting-edge vessels of the alien civilizations around the table. In fact, it resembled a large, industrial freighter. It had a square structure, large engines at the back, and some odd protrusions along its sides. The aliens looked at it with confusion. The leader of the tank, a species of energy beings, hummed a low note of curiosity. "That is your ship?" Gregson nodded proudly. "Yes, it is. Meet the Archimedes. She's a human design, no fancy alien tech, no hyper-advanced materials, just pure human ingenuity and a little bit of elbow grease." The other species snickered. "Oh, please." One of the beings from the Vantari, a race known for their incredible biological engineering, scoffed. "You expect us to believe that this thing could ever compete with our ships? Our propulsion systems alone would turn that rust bucket into space debris in a split second." Gregson's eyes sparkled with determination. "You'd be surprised." Then, with a subtle shift, the Archimedes powered up its engines. To the surprise of the aliens, the old, bulky ship began to glow with an intensity that none of them had anticipated. The ship's engines, rather than sputtering or struggling, fired to life with a deafening hum. The Archimedes surged forward in an impressive burst of acceleration, sending shockwaves through the area. The Yelka leader narrowed their glowing eyes. "Impossible. That ship has a gravitational slipstream, but how? The materials are primitive." Gregson smiled. "Humans don't need the fanciest materials or the best tech. We need to think differently. We work with what we have, and we make it better. And when we have a challenge, we solve it with everything we've got." The ship performed a series of maneuvers that no one thought possible for a vessel of that design. It accelerated faster than any of the aliens' ships, broke through various gravitational anomalies with ease, and then pulled off a flawless jump through a nearby wormhole, one that should have been inaccessible to anything not equipped with the highest tier of interdimensional tech. The delegates were silent. The Archimedes reappeared moments later, skimming along the outer edge of the space station, the massive ship looking far smaller than it had any right to, considering the sheer amount of power it was outputting. Gregson's face was calm, but a quiet pride radiated from him. "This," he said, "is Earth engineering. We're not about fancy shortcuts. We just work hard, and when we hit a wall, we climb it. We make the impossible possible." The room was quiet. The delegates exchanged glances, many of them looking at each other in disbelief. The Yelka leader's voice came through, less smug than before. "Perhaps we underestimated you, Earthling." That was impressive. Gregson shrugged modestly. "We're still learning, but we're always improving." One by one, the alien leaders spoke. The Vantari bowed their heads slightly. The tank emitted a soft resonance of respect, and the leader of the Yelka spoke again. this time with a genuine tone. It seems humanity may be more than just a joke. Perhaps, Earth's engineers can teach us a thing or two. And from that day forward, Earth no longer laughed at itself. Its engineers were respected, and the Archimedes became the symbol of human ingenuity and defiance. The lesson was clear: never underestimate a species that, despite everything, always finds a way. Aliens laughed at Earth engineer until they saw his ship, Part 2. The next intergalactic summit was held several cycles later. The Archimedes had become something of a legend. Whispers about the human ship's performance spread across the galaxy like wildfire. No longer was Earth viewed as a primitive backwater world. The unexpected brilliance of Gregson's engineering had shifted the perception of humanity. However, some species still scoffed at the idea that a single human could stand against the might of a fully developed civilization. Many still believed that humanity was an anomaly, an exception to the rule. It was time to prove that wasn't the case. Gregson had returned to the summit, but this time, he wasn't alone. He brought a crew of human engineers, each one chosen for their unique contributions to the ship's design. The Archimedes had been outfitted with new technologies that Gregson's team had developed, including some experimental shielding and adaptive propulsion systems. The ship had gone through a number of refinements, and now it was more than just a symbol of Earth's potential. It was a challenge. The atmosphere of the summit was thick with anticipation. Alien delegations from all corners of the galaxy assembled, many more curious than they had ever been before. Once again, Earth presents its representative, said the leader of the Hyskarn, a race of massive, armored beings with 4 arms and fierce intellects. But this time, you are not alone. What new tricks do you bring, Gregson? Gregson's eyes sparkled with quiet confidence. Not tricks. Hyskarn, innovation. This time, it's not just me. I've got my best engineers here, and we've got a new ship in the works. But the real test will be for everyone here to see if the next level of Earth ingenuity can keep up with your best. The council chamber fell silent, and the screen flashed again. The new ship that appeared was something no one had anticipated. It was still rugged, not sleek, but something about it, something about the way it stood, was different. The ship was massive, larger than the Archimedes. Its hull was reinforced with a mixture of human alloys and materials scavenged from the wreckage of previous alien ships. It wasn't a showpiece of beauty, but rather a brute force weapon of purpose and practicality. The ship's engines were designed to harness energy from multiple sources, including the gravitational forces of nearby stars and black holes. It had been designed to work anywhere, in deep space, near nebulas, in asteroid fields, or even within hostile environments. The moment the alien leaders saw it, the mockery from before started to dissipate. They were beginning to see something they hadn't expected. But that was nothing compared to when Gregson demonstrated the new ship's capabilities. Let's start with a little demonstration, Gregson said, as the engineers activated the ship's systems. The Archimedes 2, as it was dubbed, ignited its propulsion systems and began to accelerate in ways that would have torn apart a conventional vessel. First, the ship performed a hypervelocity maneuver through an asteroid field, without shields. The ship's adaptive hull adjusted in real time, absorbing and redirecting the energy from any impacts with a flexibility and resilience that no alien technology could match. Next, Gregson demonstrated the Archimedes 2's hypergravity harness. By manipulating the nearby black hole's gravity well, the ship folded spacetime, allowing it to jump short distances without relying on the fragile technology that other ships used. The alien delegations were left speechless. Even the mighty Yelka, known for their advanced manipulation of graviton fields, looked on in awe as Gregson's ship moved effortlessly, leaving a trail of light that bent and warped space itself. But the final test was something even more impressive. Gregson activated the ship's emergency propulsion system, a system designed by human engineers to work in the most extreme conditions imaginable. The Archimedes 2 took off at such velocity that it appeared to break the very laws of physics. The ship was a streak of light, vanishing in seconds, only to reappear moments later, a fraction of a millisecond ahead of where it had been. The shockwave sent ripples across the space station, and several of the alien leaders had to recalibrate their sensors to keep track of the ship's movements. When the dust settled, the room was eerily quiet. This time, the aliens didn't mock. They didn't laugh. Instead, they stood in stunned silence, completely overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. The leader of the tank, an ancient energy species who had long thought themselves the pinnacle of technological evolution, spoke first. "We have never seen anything like that. How is it possible? You've transcended conventional limitations. What kind of materials are you using?" Gregson smiled and shrugged. "Human ingenuity. The ship's materials are based on a combination of organic growth and synthetic metals that adapt as the ship travels. As for the gravity manipulation, we've been working on theories for decades. It was just a matter of experimentation and patience." The leader of the Vantari, typically proud and dismissive, approached Gregson with a different tone. "What you've done, we have tried. But what you achieved here today, we could not replicate it. How did you manage to integrate biological and mechanical systems like that?" "Humans," Gregson said, his voice calm but filled with quiet pride, "are masters of adaptation. We don't rely solely on knowledge handed down from others. We think outside the box. When faced with a challenge, we break it apart, we analyze it, and then we rebuild it better, stronger." The Yelka leader, who had once laughed at Earth, now stepped forward and extended their shimmering hand in what could only be described as a gesture of respect. "Perhaps we were wrong about you, Gregson of Earth. Perhaps you and your species have a future among us after all." And with that, the Alien Council's tone shifted. They no longer saw Earth as a joke. They saw a potential equal, a species that had the drive, creativity, and courage to take on the cosmos in ways even the oldest civilizations hadn't thought possible. The Archimedes too became a symbol, a monument to humanity's potential. And as Earth's engineers continued to innovate and push the boundaries of what was thought possible, the universe came to realize one undeniable truth: never underestimate humanity. It wasn't just about the technology, it was about the human spirit, the relentless drive to go beyond the stars, no matter how impossible the challenge seemed. And the aliens? They stopped laughing. Aliens laughed at Earth Engineer until they saw his ship, Part 3. Years passed since Gregson and his ship had changed the perception of Earth in the eyes of the galaxy's most advanced species. Earth had gone from a backwater world to a formidable contender in the galactic arena. Gregson's Archimedes 2 was now just one example of the incredible advancements humans had made. Earth's engineers were sought after by nearly every major civilization for their innovative, problem-solving approach. But with success came a new challenge. Humanity had caught the attention of an ancient and mysterious species, the Vorta, a civilization so advanced that their very presence altered the fabric of space around them. The Vorta had been watching from the shadows, their interest piqued by the audacity of human ingenuity. This time, it wasn't just an exhibition or a summit, it was a challenge. The Vorta had sent a formal invitation to Gregson and the leading minds of Earth. Their message was brief, but loaded with implication. "Bring your best. We will see how your species fares against the true test of intellect, engineering, and strength. Fail, and you will remain a footnote in galactic history." Gregson couldn't help but smile when he received the message. The Vorta were known for their arrogance, their unchallenged superiority. They had never lost a competition, and their technology was incomprehensible to most. But Gregson had a gut feeling that humanity's time had come to prove something even greater. After preparing for months, Earth's brightest engineers, Gregson among them, gathered in a neutral space station, one positioned between the Vorta's homeworld and the galactic crossroads. The challenge was to take place in the heart of the Vorta's arena, an immense, artificial space designed specifically for the grandest of tests. When Gregson's crew arrived, they were greeted by a vast, almost intimidating structure. It wasn't like anything they'd seen before. The arena was a fluctuating matrix of energy, suspended within a swirling nebula that twisted light and matter in ways that defied explanation. The Vorta themselves appeared strange, intangible beings of light and shadow, whose true forms were hidden beneath cloaks of reality-bending energy. Their leader, a being known only as Orthokar, spoke in a voice that seemed to echo through space itself. "Earth," Orthokar's voice boomed. "You have impressed us with your technology, your resilience, and your creativity. But here, we will see if your species can truly grasp the nature of the universe itself. This test will challenge everything you know. It will push your limits. Succeed, and you will join us in a new era of galactic collaboration. Fail, and you will remain a relic of the past." Gregson stood tall, a quiet confidence radiating from him. He wasn't just representing Earth now. He was representing every human who had ever dared to dream, build, and innovate. "We're ready," Gregson said firmly. "Give us your challenge." Orthokar extended an arm, and the arena began to shift. What appeared to be a holographic projection flickered and solidified into a massive construction project, a station on the edge of a dying star, surrounded by the most dangerous gravitational anomalies, cosmic radiation, and shifting black holes. The task was clear. You will build a functional, self-sustaining space station in the heart of this chaos. It must survive for one full galactic cycle. The laws of space and time will be your enemies. You may use nothing that you've brought with you, only your minds, your skills, and the resources you can gather from this environment. Time starts now. The challenge was unlike anything Gregson had ever faced. The Vorta were testing not only their ability to build, but their capacity to adapt in real time, to innovate under pressure, and to survive in the most hostile conditions imaginable. Gregson's mind raced. "We'll need to rethink everything. Start with what we know works. We don't need the best materials. We need what we can make work." His crew leaped into action. The first hurdle was simple. The Vorta's environment distorted all technology. Communications were warped, equipment malfunctioned, and the very laws of physics seemed to bend. Every attempt to use traditional machinery failed. Everything they had relied on in the past was useless. But Gregson knew this was where humanity thrived. It was never about using what was easiest. It was about finding a way to make it work. "We're going to need to create everything from scratch," Gregson said. "Get to work on the most basic tools first. We'll harvest whatever materials we can, and we'll adapt them." His team worked tirelessly, scavenging elements from nearby asteroids and utilizing the energy fluctuations from the dying star to fuel their makeshift devices. Gregson's engineering mind raced to overcome the impossible. They used bioorganic materials, manipulating gravity wells and magnetic fields, bending light to create temporary structures. Where other species would have failed, humanity succeeded by sheer ingenuity. As they progressed, something unexpected began to happen. The Vorta, who had watched from the shadows in silence, began to shift their energy signatures. They weren't just observing anymore, they were intrigued. It had been eons since any species had challenged their superiority, and they were realizing that Earth wasn't just a species with potential, it was a species that could outthink them, outcreate them, and, in some cases, even surpass them. The station, built from nothing, began to take shape, defying the laws of physics. It became a monument to human creativity, an intricate balance of organic and mechanical systems working together seamlessly. The humans had done the impossible. They had created a functional outpost that defied the environment, using the energy from the very star they were supposed to be avoiding. The final test came when the station faced an unexpected collapse, a chain reaction set off by a nearby gamma-ray burst. It was a test of adaptability, of how quickly the humans could recover from near-total destruction. Without hesitation, Gregson's team dove into action, pulling together every resource they had, adapting on the fly. They stabilized the energy flows, recalibrated the station's gravity wells, and performed repairs that seemed impossible in the given time. When the Vorta unleashed their final test, an artificial black hole threatening to devour the station, Gregson and his team created a pulse strong enough to neutralize its gravity. The Vorta leader's voice reverberated through the arena once again. "You have done it. Earth, you have passed our test. Your species has not only survived, but you have shown us something we thought lost: true adaptability, innovation, and resilience. We underestimated you. The universe is yours to shape." Gregson stood silently for a moment, his team exhausted but exhilarated. Earth had proven itself to the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Vorta had finally realized the truth. Humanity was no longer just a species on the rise. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. And as Gregson looked out across the stars, he knew that this was just the beginning. The age of humanity had arrived. Aliens laughed at Earth Engineer until they saw his ship, Part 4. The news spread like wildfire. The challenge had been won. Humanity had proven itself not just a competitor but a leader among the stars. The galaxy, once dismissive of Earth's potential, now watched in awe as human engineers, scientists, and innovators became the most sought-after minds in the universe. The victory in the Vorda's arena had a ripple effect, and Earth became a symbol of hope and ingenuity. Humanity had shown that no obstacle, no matter how immense, could not be overcome with enough determination, creativity, and teamwork. But while the galaxy celebrated, Gregson knew that Earth was now on the precipice of something even greater, something that would require more than just one victory. It was time to face the true consequences of their newfound place in the galactic community. And what he didn't know yet was that an even greater challenge was waiting, one that would test humanity's resolve like never before. A year after the victory, an encrypted message arrived at Earth's Central Command. The message was from a race known as the HFY, a civilization shrouded in mystery and known for their vast networks of deep space exploration. Their territory stretched across the farthest edges of the known galaxy, where they had conducted experiments on dark matter, wormholes, and even the concept of alternate realities. They had watched the Vorda challenge and were intrigued by Earth's unexpected success. But their message was more of a warning than an invitation. "We are the HFY," the message began. "You have proven your worth by surviving the Vorda's trial. However, you are now standing at the threshold of a new era. But that threshold comes with risks you cannot comprehend. You may have conquered one trial, but a greater challenge awaits. It is not one you can win with technology or ingenuity alone. It is a test of the heart and soul of your species. Should you accept this challenge, know that the consequences are irreversible." Gregson read the message over several times. The tone of the HFY was not one of a traditional enemy but of something more ominous, a race that knew the nature of the universe's deepest secrets. They had offered no answers, only a challenge, one whose stakes were beyond the realm of engineering. Earth's leaders, still basking in their victory, debated fiercely. Some were eager to accept. After all, they had taken on the Vorda and won. Others, however, feared that the HFY might not be the allies they appeared to be. Some of the more cautious voices argued that the HFY were testing more than just their strength, they were testing their very identity as a species. Gregson, never one to shy away from a challenge, stood before the Earth Council. "We've come this far, and we can't let fear hold us back. We've faced the impossible before. If there's something out there that can truly threaten us, we need to face it head-on, just as we did with the Vorda." Reluctantly, the Council agreed. Earth's representatives prepared to venture into the unknown once more. The HFY had provided coordinates to a distant region of space, an uncharted area at the edges of known space, where the laws of physics as humanity understood them no longer applied. They were to arrive at a massive structure floating in the heart of a seemingly empty space. This, they were told, was where the challenge would unfold. As Gregson and his crew approached the coordinates, they were met with a surreal sight. The structure was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, an enormous ring, its surface covered in what appeared to be a shifting, organic material that pulsed with an energy that defied all known principles of matter. Surrounding the ring was an eerie, empty void that seemed to pull at the very fabric of space. The HFY appeared in their ethereal form, a shifting, mist-like presence that surrounded Gregson and his crew as they approached the structure. "You stand at the threshold of your future," the HFY spoke in unison, their voices echoing like whispers in the minds of all present. "This is the Ether Gate, a device that controls the very fabric of space-time. If you succeed in understanding its purpose and unlocking its potential, you will usher in a new era for your species. Fail, and you will be lost to the void, forever." Gregson stepped forward, the weight of their words settling heavily on his shoulders. The challenge was clear. It wasn't a test of strength, but of understanding. The Ether Gate was something that no race, not even the Vorda, had ever truly comprehended. It was said to be a relic of an ancient species long gone, a tool capable of altering the very nature of existence itself. But the question was, what did it want from humanity? He and his team spent days studying the ring. They tested every theory they could think of, running simulations, analyzing the energy patterns, but nothing worked. The ring remained inert. The HFY watched silently, offering no guidance. Then, after what felt like an eternity of failure, Gregson found himself staring into the pulsing core of the ring late one night. A single thought crossed his mind. What if the solution wasn't about understanding the technology, but about understanding the purpose behind it? After all, humans had always been about more than just solving technical problems, they were about finding meaning. He turned to his team. "This is bigger than we realized. It's not just about how it works. It's about why it exists, and what the purpose of its creators was. The Huruk mentioned the future. Maybe this is about us, about humanity. The team pondered this new approach. They theorized that the Ether Gate wasn't a tool of power, it was a symbol, an invitation. It was testing not just their intellect, but their capacity for growth, their ability to adapt to a universe that no longer followed the rules they had always known. And so, instead of focusing on the mechanics of the gate, Gregson's team made an unexpected move. They stopped trying to force their knowledge onto it. They approached the gate with humility, understanding that their role in the universe was not to control it, but to become a part of something greater. At that moment, the Ether Gate reacted. The structure began to glow, its organic surface shifting and pulsing faster, its energies fluctuating wildly. Suddenly, a doorway opened in the center of the ring, revealing a swirling, iridescent void, a pathway leading somewhere beyond comprehension. "We have completed our challenge," the Huruk intoned. "You have proven that humanity is not only capable of creating the future, but of understanding it. You have opened the door to the next phase of your existence." Gregson stood in awe as the pathway before them began to stretch into the unknown. This was not just another victory. It was the beginning of an entirely new chapter for Earth and its people, a chapter that would see them not only as creators of technology, but as creators of destiny itself. And as Gregson stepped into the gateway, the stars shining brighter than ever before, he realized one undeniable truth: humanity had arrived at its true purpose. The future was now theirs to shape. End of Part 4. Aliens laughed at Earth Engineer until they saw his ship, Part 5. As the gateway shimmered before them, Gregson and his team hesitated for only a moment. The weight of the unknown was overwhelming. The Ether Gate had opened, revealing a passageway through space-time, beyond the bounds of their understanding. It was the culmination of everything they had fought for, everything humanity had strived for, but it was also a step into a realm of uncertainty that no human had ever dared to cross. The Huruk, still hovering in the misty void, spoke again, their voices a whisper in the minds of Gregson and his crew. "This passage leads to the Nexus, the center of all known and unknown realities. What you will find there is not something you can control, but something that will change you. The Nexus is a place of ultimate knowledge, but only those worthy may traverse it. Humanity has earned its place." Gregson's mind raced. The Nexus. It was more than just a mythical place. It was the answer to every question humanity had asked about the universe. It was the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of existence itself. To cross the threshold meant stepping into the infinite, a place where time, space, and reality as they knew it might cease to exist in any predictable form. But even with the uncertainty ahead, Gregson felt a deep sense of calm. Humanity had faced the impossible before and triumphed. They had not only survived, but thrived in the face of adversity. This wasn't just a journey into the unknown. It was a journey of purpose. They had earned this moment. "We're ready," Gregson said, his voice steady. "Let's see what awaits us." One by one, the engineers, scientists, and astronauts who had traveled with Gregson stepped into the swirling vortex, their bodies enveloped by the glowing energy of the Nexus. The air hummed with power as they disappeared into the void, and the Ether Gate closed behind them, leaving only the echo of its existence in the vast emptiness. The journey through the Nexus was like nothing any of them had ever experienced. Time stretched and compressed, colors shifted in ways that defied description. The very concept of gravity fluctuated, and the space around them bent, spiraled, and warped into unimaginable shapes. For moments, they were nothing more than fragments of thought, existing in multiple places at once, experiencing the universe from all points of view. Gregson, ever the engineer, tried to make sense of the chaotic landscape, but there was no logic here. The Nexus was not a place of reason, it was a place of transformation. It was a space where every possibility existed simultaneously, where knowledge was not just something to be learned, but something to be experienced. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the Nexus, the boundaries of reality began to dissolve entirely. The passage they had entered widened, revealing an immense, shimmering city that seemed to hover in the heart of the void. Its structures were made of light, energy, and pure potential, impossibly beautiful and intricate. At the center of this city was a massive, radiant sphere, its energy pulsing with the weight of eons. The sphere radiated knowledge and understanding, drawing Gregson and his crew toward it, as though it had recognized their arrival. The Huruk's voice echoed once again. This is the core, the essence of the Nexus. It holds the answers to the questions of the universe, its creation, its purpose, and its end. But it is not a place of answers. It is a place of choice. Gregson stepped forward, the hum of the sphere resonating in his chest. A place of choice? He murmured, feeling the gravity of the words. The Huruk continued. You now stand at the precipice of all possible futures. The core offers you a path, one that will allow humanity to transcend its limitations, to understand the true nature of existence. But this path comes with a price. What you discover here will reshape your species and the universe itself. It will change your very essence. Gregson and his team exchanged nervous glances. This wasn't just about technology anymore. This wasn't just about surviving or building. This was about the heart and soul of humanity. Could they truly grasp what the Nexus offered? Could humanity withstand the responsibility of such knowledge? Suddenly, the sphere pulsed brighter, and an image flickered before them. It was an image of Earth, just as they knew it. But the Earth they saw was not bound by the same limitations they had known. It was a world filled with limitless energy, where the laws of physics could be bent, where every human had access to knowledge beyond comprehension. The boundaries between species, time, and space seemed to blur. This is what awaits you, the Huruk's voice whispered. This is the future that you can shape. Gregson felt a sense of awe and fear. The possibilities were limitless. They could build a society where hunger, disease, and suffering no longer existed. They could reach across the galaxy, maybe even beyond, and forge a new age of exploration and understanding. But there was a deeper question now. Would humanity lose its essence in the pursuit of such power? Would they forget the struggles that had defined them? The hardships that had shaped their resilience and creativity? I don't know if we're ready for this, Gregson said quietly, his voice reflecting the weight of the decision before them. The Huruk responded. No one is ever fully ready, but the choice is yours. You can accept the knowledge and the power it brings, or you can leave it behind, keeping the purity of your species intact, but with the knowledge that you could have done more. The future will always be shaped by your decisions. Gregson felt a strange, almost overwhelming pull toward the sphere. The weight of the choice was immense. He looked at his team. Each one of them stood silently, contemplating the path ahead. He could see the hesitation in their eyes, the desire to accept the gift, but also the fear of what it might mean for humanity. After a long pause, Gregson spoke. We've come this far because we've chosen to push forward, to innovate, to grow. But we've also always remembered who we are, why we fight, why we create. If we accept this knowledge, we need to carry it with the same humility and responsibility that got us here. One by one, Gregson's team nodded in agreement. They had been tested, not just in terms of technology, but in their very nature. Humanity's strength had never been in its ability to conquer, it had always been in its ability to adapt, to learn, to grow together. And so, with a deep breath, Gregson reached out and touched the core. The moment his hand made contact, the universe seemed to shift. The walls of the Nexus faded, replaced by an all-encompassing light. Knowledge poured into their minds, visions of the universe's creation, of countless civilizations that had risen and fallen, of the infinite threads of possibility that wove through time and space. Gregson saw the future, not just of Earth, but of every species, every star, every galaxy. The light faded, and the team found themselves back on the platform in the Nexus, their minds and hearts filled with a new understanding. They had not just witnessed the future, they had become part of it. The Huruk's voice echoed one final time. You have chosen wisely. Humanity has crossed the threshold into a new age. You are no longer just creators of technology. You are creators of reality itself. Gregson stood tall, a new purpose burning within him. The journey had only just begun. Humanity had entered the Nexus, but it was now their responsibility to shape the future, to lead, to inspire, and to ensure that the knowledge they had gained would never be misused. As Gregson looked toward the stars, he knew that humanity's greatest challenge was not over. It had only just begun. The universe was vast, and the possibilities were infinite. Aliens laughed at Earth Engineer until they saw his ship, Part 6. The reality of what Gregson and his team had just experienced began to settle in slowly. They had touched the core of the Nexus, a place that no species had dared to reach, and emerged with a deep, intrinsic understanding of the universe, its workings, its history, and the vast potential that lay before them. Yet, as their minds expanded with this new knowledge, a heavy burden weighed on them. The choice they had made, to accept the power of the Nexus, was not without consequences. Humanity was now more than just a species among the stars. They were keepers of knowledge, responsible not only for themselves but for all of existence. The future they envisioned was one of immense possibility, but also immense peril. The Huruk had made it clear, the Nexus did not grant power lightly. It was a gateway to a higher state of existence, but it demanded a price. With the knowledge of the universe came the responsibility of wielding it wisely. Gregson stood with his team, gazing out across the vast expanse of space. The gateway was no longer visible. It had faded, leaving only the endless stars as the backdrop to their new reality. "What now?" asked one of the engineers, his voice tinged with awe and uncertainty. Gregson let out a long breath, his mind racing with the endless possibilities that now stretched before them. "Now we begin. We begin by understanding that this knowledge is not ours to control, it's ours to guide. We have the ability to shape the future, but we must do so carefully, thoughtfully." His eyes scanned the team, each person marked by the weight of the decision they had made. They had all seen glimpses of the future, of the society they could create, a world where technology and humanity were bound together in ways that defied their previous understanding. They could eliminate hunger, disease, and war. They could explore the farthest reaches of space, and perhaps even rewrite the very fabric of reality. But, as Gregson had seen in the Nexus, there was also the danger of losing themselves along the way. The more power they had, the more they risked becoming something else, something that no longer resembled the humans who had fought, struggled, and built their way to the stars. "We don't just move forward as conquerors of knowledge," Gregson said. "We move forward as stewards. Every step we take must be weighed with responsibility." Back on Earth, the world was in turmoil. The news of humanity's discovery of the Nexus and the knowledge it had unlocked spread across the globe at lightning speed. Governments, scientists, and leaders scrambled to understand the implications of this new reality. Some countries clamored for immediate access to the information, believing that the power of the Nexus should be used to propel humanity into an era of unparalleled prosperity. Others feared that such knowledge, if mishandled, could spell the end of civilization itself. For weeks, Earth's leaders convened in a series of high-stakes discussions, attempting to craft a unified approach. But the deeper questions remained: who controlled the knowledge? Who decided how it was used? Gregson had become an unwilling figurehead in this debate. The weight of his decision to accept the Nexus's knowledge hung over him like a shadow. He had seen firsthand how easy it would be to succumb to the temptation of power, to harness the energy of stars, to manipulate time, to reach into the very structure of reality itself. It was an intoxicating prospect. But he knew that humanity had to be careful, or it risked becoming something unrecognizable. He stood in the conference hall, looking out over a sea of faces. Some were hopeful, others skeptical, and still more terrified. The weight of responsibility felt almost unbearable, but he knew he had no choice. Humanity had chosen its path, and it was his job to help steer them in the right direction. "I understand your concerns," Gregson said, his voice carrying across the room. "I share them, but we must remember one thing: what we have learned cannot be undone. The Nexus has shown us the future, but it has also shown us our limits. The universe is not a toy to be wielded by those who think themselves wise. It is a gift, and we must approach it with the reverence and respect it deserves." There was a murmur of agreement from some in the room, but the tension was palpable. The question remained: what did humanity do with this gift? "We must form a council," Gregson continued, "a body that represents all of humanity, all walks of life. This knowledge is too great for any single government, corporation, or individual to hold. We will work together, not to dominate, but to guide." The room fell silent. It was a radical proposition, one that would challenge the very nature of governance and power. But in that silence, Gregson saw the dawning of something: hope, perhaps, or at least the realization that this was the only path forward. If humanity were to survive, it would need to embrace unity, not division. Meanwhile, in the farthest reaches of space, the Huruk watched silently, their presence still lingering in the minds of Gregson and his crew. They had given humanity the power to change the universe. But they had not interfered since the moment the Nexus closed behind them. They had not needed to. The Huruk knew what humanity would face. They had seen the potential for greatness, but also the potential for ruin. It was why they had chosen to let Earth discover the Nexus on their own. The challenge had never been about testing humanity's technological prowess. It had always been about testing their character. And the first test was yet to come. Months passed, and the council that Gregson had proposed began to take form. It was a slow and painstaking process, but humanity was beginning to see the importance of cooperation. The world's greatest minds, from engineers to philosophers, from leaders to artists, gathered to deliberate on how to move forward. But as the council convened, something else was unfolding. The knowledge from the Nexus was far more potent than anyone had anticipated. As Earth's brightest minds began to explore the depths of this new understanding, they discovered that the universe was not as static as they had once thought. It was alive, a vast network of interconnected forces, forces that could be bent, shaped, and even manipulated. And yet, for all the incredible advances humanity had made, a shadow loomed. The knowledge they had gained was not just a gift, it was a weapon that could be wielded by anyone, any faction, any individual, or any enemy with the will and the means to harness it. Gregson felt the unease growing within him. The more they learned, the more they realized how fragile their new existence truly was. They had unlocked the doors to infinite possibilities, but they had also unlocked the door to something far darker. The first signs of trouble came from within their own ranks. A faction of powerful individuals, bent on exploiting the Nexus's knowledge for personal gain, began to form. They saw the potential for absolute power, control over the fabric of reality itself, and they would stop at nothing to seize it. Gregson and the council were faced with a difficult decision. They could not allow this knowledge to be controlled by any single entity. They had to find a way to protect humanity from itself. The future of Earth, and perhaps the universe, was hanging by a thread. Humanity had passed the test of the Nexus, but the real challenge was only just beginning. End of Part 6.